Welcome to the Sports Machine with Brian and Dean. Wednesday, December 9th. Recording in Dallas, Texas. Great show lined up today. Ron Rivera getting at the reporter, asking about Cam Newton-Head. DeMarco Murray going straight to the owners. Is that a good move? Division winners and playoff hopefuls give our opinions on that. Who we see making the playoffs. And NFL power rankings. And of course, somebody's getting really low today. I think this one's going to be a good one on both sides. Let's get started in the NBA. How bad does your team have to be to where other owners are asking you to be better?
Your favorite team, the Philadelphia Tanks.
Tanks. We do not call them by their name on this show. At least I do not.
Call them PT for short. PT Tank.
They have hired somebody, someone very respected in the NBA, by the name of Jerry Colangelo. He had a long career as the Phoenix Suns coach. He's also had many other roles in the NBA.
Right.
General manager,
Right.
CEO, all those. He's a Hall of Famer for the Naismith. Very well respected in the basketball community.
Right.
But I think this may be a cover. Just to buy them more time for more tanking before people start crashing down on them.
Basically like a figurehead.
Because he really, look at his title, Chairman of Basketball Operations. Sounds really official. Well, he's not the owner. He's not the general manager.
Right.
AK, he really can't make decisions.
He's an advisor.
Yeah, he can advise you what to do, and then you can say, you know what? That's a smart move. We're going to do the exact opposite so we can get this drafted.
Exactly. We'll use that for future reference. But right now, there's a guy in LSU who's projected to be the next big thing in the NBA. I won't compare him to any current players or past players, but
Other people are comparing him to LeBron.
exactly. And that's why I said
Just
I
to throw
won't.
it out there.
I'm not going to even. Once again, he's projected to be the next big thing. That's what you know. So, because pretty soon we're gonna have the next Steph Curry out there, the next person who's shooting very well. So it's like, okay. Anyway, I'm not finna take it that far. Like I said, you know, I was listening to another show this morning. I was listening to Mike and Mike, as a matter of fact. Excuse me. And the problem with this team is they've been bad so long to the point where it makes you wonder whether or not this team is ever going to get to where they're trying to go. Because when you look at other teams who's built their teams up through the draft, the former Seattle Sonics, now Oklahoma City Thunder, they've built their team up through the draft. Most right now, you look at Golden State. Golden State been a team who's built their team through the draft and through free agent in NBA free agency. The Washington Wizards as well is another team who may not be playing their best basketball right now, but at the same time, when you look at their backcourt, when you look at the team on paper, when you look at what they've done, the success they've had over the past couple of years, once again, that's a team that's on the come up. When you look at other teams that's done well in the draft, you can even drop New York in for right now with Porzingis, who everybody was hating on in New York for a minute until they watched the guy play, and now everybody loves him.
I don't have, in that same draft, the Tanks got Jahlil Okafor, and Okafor to me has played well.
Right.
He got them the one win, in my opinion. And as soon as he got that win, they decided to suspend him 2 games, and he's been coming off the bench since.
Right.
Does not really,
It's not
not a winning formula.
right. Your best basketball player that's been playing ever since, who's a rookie, who's done nothing since high school and college but win. The one guy who you got who's used to winning you've basically taken his mental psyche and just turned him into a loser. Because I think losing weighs more on a younger player than it do a veteran guy, because a veteran guy knows.
I like Nerlens Noel. He looks good coming off his injury.
Right.
I like the way he looks.
Right.
We're not even gonna talk about Embiid because he hasn't even hit the floor yet.
Exactly. And see, that's the deal. Like, they've drafted so many big men and have gotten nowhere with them.
I think with Okafor and Noel, that's where you start.
Right.
And then you get the number 1 pick. You get Simmons, probably coming at the 3 spot for the team.
Right.
And it looks like, hey, this team could be really good. But then you think about it, it's the Philadelphia Tanks.
Another team I forgot about was Boston. Boston had a complete fire sale a few years ago. Ray Allen gone. Their big 3 was gone. Ray Allen, Paul Pierce. Last year with Rajon Rondo, they finally got rid of him. Once again, this team is still competing in the East. Was an 8 seed last year, so it's like, what's your excuse, besides drafting guys who may not fit your system, or is it because you're switching out coaches?
You don't have a system.
Yeah.
Philadelphia does have a system.
Or is it because they're switching out coaches as about as often as some people say people change their draws?
I hope it's not like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, no, I'm just that once again. That's just a just a saying, but hope you change the draws every day. But for the most part, that's exactly what a lot of people tend to feel like. Hey, this team, they're changing coaches left and right, as if it's the coaching fault.
I mean, they're 1-21. What is Jerry Colangelo's first advice to the team?
Just win. Just steal
Like,
Al Davis deal. Just win, baby. Just win. Just win.
that's why I laughed when I read the story about Jerry Colangelo being hired. It's like, I got respect for Colangelo, and hopefully he does turn Philadelphia around. I'm an Allen Iverson fan, so
right.
kind of sucks looking at them, and now it's like, what happened?
Right.
And I just look at it, I'm like, what's Colangelo gonna do?
Right.
He can't make the owner spend more money to get a free agent. He can't make them draft
Right.
accurately. I mean, he could give advice like, hey, I would get this guy. What do they take the advice?
See, my deal with that is, like you said, they was good when they had Allen Iverson. They even drafted his replacement, Andre Iguodala, the new AI.
Wasn't bad.
But right, he wasn't bad. But
at least they weren't 1-21.
Right, but what was the help he got after that? He didn't. Like, he didn't get much help after that. I mean, they picked up a few guys, but nothing to keep them in the playoff hunt post Allen Iverson.
Do you think it's because their strategy is just to have draft picks, pawn draft picks, and eventually they're going to turn out to be really good because they have all these number 1 picks.
Right.
I mean, theoretically it should work,
Right.
but it's obvious it's not.
Right. And see, what really hurts them the most is the fact that no free agent anywhere wants to come play for that team. No one wants to become part of.
See, why would you?
Exactly. Like, nobody wants to become part of that kind of losing effort, like losing that consistently. Except for they're 1-21. Think about how many games straight they've lost. Like, you talk about dark and gloomy. That's dark and gloomy all over it.
Call them Tank City. Say, watch out when they come into town. Got tanks coming in.
It's hot, rolling in hard. Low self-esteem and all.
Just a shout out to another team who's on the street. The Warriors are 23-0. Did you think the Pacers might come back?
It looked like it. It looked like they was really coming back. They was coming in. I was like, uh-oh, here they
For
go.
the people that don't know, Golden State was up by a huge margin early in the game, and somehow the Pacers outscored the Warriors by 20 points in the fourth quarter
Right.
and still end up losing by 8.
Which is very surprising when you think about how good this team is defensively.
Well, I mean, they had benched a lot of their starters, and I think the bench kind of got overwhelmed.
Right.
Then just throw the starters back in real quick, hope for the best.
Right.
And of course, they came out. Klay Thompson got hurt late in the game. No one knows how long. Just like we said, barring serious injury, it looks like the Warriors are for real.
Exactly.
Hopefully, Klay Thompson isn't out for too long. Sprained ankle. I don't see it holding them back that long.
I don't think
It might lead to their first loss, though.
depending on how long he's out. If he's out when they play Cleveland, yeah, I could see that happening. But I think losing a Klay Thompson is not as bad as when you lose 30-plus points a game in Stephen Curry.
Oh, yeah, it's not even close. To me, Curry's the only one that actually affects them on a grand scale instead of just losing a game.
Because he can create his own shot, not to mention drop dimes. Not to mention you have to double. You have to account for this guy at all times.
Moving on from the NBA, we're going to get into Ron Rivera and what he had to say to a reporter right after this on the Sports Machine. It's the Sports Machine. This is Brian Franklin with the Sports Machine's daily sports ticker. In Major League Baseball, the Chicago Cubs have agreed to a deal with Ben Zobrist. The deal is 4 years and $56 million. The Cubs also traded second baseman Starlin Castro to the New York Yankees in order to make room for Zobrist at second base. Another trade occurred in the Major League Baseball where the Arizona Diamondbacks ended up with the all-star pitcher Shelby Miller from the Atlanta Braves. In the NBA, well-respected Hall of Famer Jerry Colangelo has agreed to become the chairman of basketball operations for the Philadelphia Pro NBA basketball team. For the NBA scores, the Cavaliers were able to rally from an early deficit to get a tough win against the Trailblazers 105-100. The Warriors went up early. The Pacers fought back but fell just short, losing to the Warriors 131-123. The Nets took advantage of an early lead to beat the Rockets 110-105. The Thunder blew out the Grizzlies 125-88. The Magic won a low-scoring game against the Nuggets 85-74, and the Kings came out with a victory over the Jazz 114-106. It's the Sports Machine with Brian and Dean. Just went over the Philadelphia Tanks. Notice how I did not say their name in that ticker.
He never says their name, though. That's what makes it fun. He's so consistent with
it.
They are the Tanks, period. Like, someone who doesn't know anything about NBA basketball, if they heard the Philadelphia Tanks, they would actually think that was their real name. They'd be like, who was the 76ers? Oh, well, that was the team. That's the team formerly known as the 76ers. BKA 76ers.
Used to be. Not until they get the next AI.
Right.
Moving on to the NFL. Ron Rivera got into it with a reporter about Cam Newton and whether or not the Carolina Panthers went through with the proper procedures for concussion. And I didn't get the whole scoop on the story until you had mentioned to me. I knew Ron Rivera had said some things to a reporter. I wasn't quite sure what had happened until you explained it.
Right. Well, see, what happened is after Sunday's game against the Saints, if you wasn't able to catch the game, Cam Newton took a couple of shots to the head, pretty bad. But he was taken back to the locker room for the NFL's concussion protocol. He was allowed back out to go play. Finished the game. Of course, you already know the end result of it. The Panthers won 41-38 in what was a good game in New Orleans. So a reporter after the game, about a day ago, a reporter then asked Ron Rivera about the concussion protocol. He asked him about it, and Tuesday, Ron Rivera just stopped him in his tracks. Told him, Now, I said that I'm not going to answer that question anymore because I've already answered it. He's not going to make it into a spectacle. And he looks at the guy who asked him the question because the guy was still trying to ask him a question. He kept hitting him with, he kept just saying, no, we're not going to go through this because you yourself were the one who called the league and asked did we follow the concussion protocol correctly. And yeah, he said, so the league told you that we did follow the concussion protocol. So why are we still talking about something? Why are we about to make something a spectacle that shouldn't be made into a spectacle? There's no need for it. We followed the protocol. The league said we followed the protocol. We followed the rules. He was good to play in the game. Enough said. Should be in the story. So let's not make it into something. Let's not make more out of it than what it is.
But first, let's get into whether or not we actually believe they went through the protocol. Do you believe they actually went through the protocol?
Yeah, I believe they did.
I don't.
And the reason why I say that is because Ron Rivera is a coach. He's a player's coach. And Ron Rivera is an ex-player in the league as well. He played with your Chicago Bears under Hall of Fame head coach Mike Ditka. Played on that team with them. So he's a player's coach. And he cares about their safety. He's also seen some of his friends like the result of what's happened to them because of what we know about concussions now. So I believe he did follow the protocol. And with everything that's been going down with the league and these head injuries about these guys still being able to get back into the game, you have the new concussion movie getting ready to come out that's going to shed more light onto it, which is putting more pressure on the league. I believe that he did follow the protocol. I think everybody's doing the best they can to follow it.
I disagree with that. I don't believe everybody is. I believe that the coaches do what they notice.
Right.
Like, I think people need to be more understanding to these coaches that are asking these coaches. Man, the head coach is coaching a football game.
Right.
He's got a lot of things on his plate that he's thinking about, and it's not necessarily, hey, is that guy hurt? Mm-hmm. Even when the guy stands back up, he assumes, all right, he's healthy to go.
Right.
That's why he says, hey, it's on the doctors. I can't just sit here and look at every single player that stays on the ground longer than usual.
Right.
I mean, he's trying to pick a play. He's trying to get the defense ready if the offense is on the field. He has a lot of things on his plate, and to put it all on the head coach, like it's the head coach's duty just to sit there and watch every single player. Like, all right, he got up and stumbled a little bit. Let's send him over here to do the concussion protocol. Right. To me, that's more on the player or the doctors. That's what the doctors need to be looking out for. All right, he got up a little stumble. Let's go pull. Let's go talk to the coach about getting him out of the game so we can do this protocol.
Right.
Instead of just putting it on the coach, assuming the coach knows.
Right.
I believe Jeff Fisher when he said he didn't know that Case Keenum came up all woozy.
He was out.
Like he probably wasn't even just really looking at just that Case Keenum. Like, oh, he's getting kind of weird. I believe he probably sitting there looking at his play call. Like, all right, we got to get the next play call in. And he looks up. Case Keenum standing up. Players are standing around him. The player thinks he can go. Mm-hmm. Let him go.
Right.
He didn't see him woozy all around there. Maybe the doctor saw and decided not to say anything.
Right. But then that's why they supposed to have the new spotters out there now who sees.
How many times have we heard that the spotters over there pulling people from games?
Not much. Not many times.
That's why I say I don't think everybody is trying to do the concussion protocol. Maybe they try to the best of their abilities as the coaches.
Right.
Because the coaches don't want to be put on blast for this.
Right. And like I agree with you on that one point where you said he's not a doctor, so there's no way he can know what a guy with the concussion looks like. It's only trained professionals can actually look at a guy, look at his eyes, and perform the test that will let him know that this guy has a concussion, that he has been knocked out. But for the most part, it's like when these coaches are kind of paid, these coaches are paid millions of dollars to know what is going on with their team, with their league. So it's like, all right, you have your defensive coordinator, you have an offensive coordinator. Hey, get me assistant coach, get me that doctor and tell him to let me know what's going on with my star player. I need to know something. But then again, in the heat of a football game, that's why I agree with you when you say he got 1,001 things he got going on with the next play call, with what else can I do with the guys that I do have out there on the field right now. But once again, it's like my only problem with this is that this reporter, and I don't know who he is, he talked to the league. He talked to him, and they told him that he followed the right protocol. That's my knock on. It's like, dude, you know You know that he followed the right protocol. So it's like, why are you steady digging for something that's not there? So I don't blame him for being frustrated. I don't blame him for actually going at dude like that. And be real with you, he actually went at him pretty mellow compared to what a lot of other coaches like Bill Cowher, you can even say Bill Parcells, and a lot of other fiery coaches would have kind of went at that guy in a different way. Like, could you imagine if this same guy goes down to Alabama and asks Nick Saban that question after Nick Saban knows he knows the answer to it?
It'd be funny. I like it. I like to see it.
Exactly. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, I've seen some people responses to, this report. I'm pretty sure is out on every sports website you can go to, whether it's Yahoo Sports, CBS Sports, Fox Sports, ESPN. You can go and find this out. But the comments that I saw was actually pretty funny because a lot of people's, well, it's his job to answer the questions. Yeah, but it's like, this guy has asked me a question that I answered once on Sunday night. I answered again Monday. Same guy, right? Gave everybody the same answer. Then this same guy turns around and come back and asks me that question Tuesday when he talked to the league himself. Pretty sure if he knows that Rivera knows that he talked to the league, then the league must have contacted Rivera and let him know, hey, we talked to this guy from, hypothetically speaking here, Charlotte Tribune or something like that. He was asking questions about.
I want to get your take on that. Because to me, I'm like, how the league gonna snitch on the dude? Straight snitch on the reporter. Yeah, this reporter came and talked to us about y'all's concussion protocol. AK, be on the lookout. Put him on blast the next time you see him.
Then I guess we need to get on Ron Rivera for actually putting the league out there like this. Like, yo, the league told you something that was in confidentiality, and you went out there and you said, now you talked to the league. It's like, and dude had to been like dumbfounded, like, how did he know that I talked to the league? Sir, if you ain't figured out how he know, then maybe you shouldn't be doing that job anymore. It's they're connected. So it's like, once again, I still say the league is only doing what the league is supposed to do. It's like, yo, hey, this guy right here, he's fishing around here. He's fishing around. Can we go ahead and let this guy know that you did follow the protocol? We let him know. He talked to us directly. It sounds like they was covering their end too. Like, hey,
I don't know. It sounds like there's a lot. This is one thing I learned from this story, that there's a lot of snitching going on.
Right.
That's one thing I learned. To use a metaphor, maybe someone parks in a parking lot, someone sees it, and tells somebody about it, even though it's been going on for a while.
Let's not forget, Rivera held out Luke Kuechly. He missed about 3 games after suffering a concussion. And the first half of the Jacksonville game earlier this year. So it's like, he has a track record of, if these guys are hurt, if they have any type of head injuries, he's not going to rush them back to play. Because let's be for real, Luke Kuechly has helped turn their defense around. He is their guy.
Luke Kuechly and Cam Newton are the most important players.
Exactly.
On that team.
Exactly. So it's like, to hold that guy out for almost 3 games with the concussion should kind of validates itself.
Staying in the NFL, but moving to a maybe less important player. I wasn't sending shots, but we are going to talk about DeMarco Murray.
You were sending shots. It's okay.
Maybe.
Because I want to send some shots his way too. Not from a ex-Cowboy standpoint.
DeMarco Murray is frustrated, so he decided to meet with the Eagles owner, Jeffrey Lurie. What do you think they met about? Is he trying to get more touches by going to the owner, or?
For me, I've sat back and thought about that myself, and I asked myself that question. I was like, well, okay. Is it because, when these guys go to Chip on their own, they're not going to get the response? Is it known now throughout the locker room that if you have a problem, you don't go to Chip Kelly? because it's not going to help you. Like, he's going to do things the way he see fit. Like, if he's going to use you the way he see fit.
Straight ownership though. Not even
Position coach. Like, he didn't go to the running back coach. Hey man, talk to him.
straight to ownership. This one thing advice I would kind of give to DeMarco Murray is learn from history.
You don't bite the hand.
Look at what happened to RG3. RG3 doesn't talk to the coach. He talks straight to ownership. That's a good way to get set apart from not only the coach, but from
the whole team.
The team's like, hey, why do you get one-on-ones with the owner? I don't get one-on-ones with the owner.
Exactly. And in the case, and you know who else that didn't work well with? And earlier this season, before they kind of got on the right track, it was a lot of speculation about that. Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
There was also speculation about that, about Russell Wilson over there in
This is
Seattle.
something that frustrates me because I feel like Russell Wilson didn't catch as much heat for it because he comes off as a really good guy.
Right.
I mean, RG3 has done nothing to personify that he's not a good guy, and neither really has DeMarco Murray besides leaving Dallas. I mean, some people in Dallas got some hatred for him, but he's not done anything like,
and it's
wow.
Exactly. And I didn't have any hatred for DeMarco Murray due to the fact that I knew Philly overpaid for him.
Yeah.
They overpaid for a guy who hasn't exactly had the healthiest career in the pros or in college.
I want people that always fan bases that get mad at players who take the money over staying with their original team.
Right.
To look at themselves in the mirror and tell them that they're gonna pass up on an extra $4 million, $5 million, whatever the extra amount is. Like,
I need the dough.
I'll take it.
Especially like when I look at NFL players, like, you need all the money you can get because you guys are the top sport, what they call the 300-pound gorilla. Your sport brings in the billions of dollars, owns a day out the week, right? And the players are paid far less than the third best rated sport in our country, which is baseball.
$206.5 million for Zach Greinke, by the way.
What was 7 years? 206.
You know what I would do for You know what I'd do for $206.5 million?
David Price, 7 years, 207.
It's like I'd do so much.
All of it guaranteed. Let's think about this. All of it guaranteed. I think somebody better go ask Boston, the Red Sox, about how much money they still paying Manny Ramirez.
Manny Ramirez is still getting paid by the Dodgers, too.
Thank
That's
you.
So funny. Manny Ramirez is still getting checks for people that don't know.
He's still in the DR, in Cuba, Puerto Rico.
He's going to get paid
doing
until
his thing.
2022, I think they said.
Right.
He's going to get paid until 2022. He's not even playing anymore.
Right.
Just chilling.
It ain't even relevant. Ain't been relevant for
Manny
quite some
being
time.
Manny getting paid.
Right. So, back to the topic at point. Get all the money you can get, but I think the knock right now that's going to come on DeMarco Murray is it's already been, when they've looked at the fact that, you have other running backs out there trying to do more than what he's doing. I think everybody else was used to seeing DeMarco Murray try to run guys down, run guys over. And he's been taking some slack for being a guy who just actually just takes what the defense gives him to get out of bounds. He doesn't take any unnecessary hits now. And for me, I just kind of wondered whether or not it was about, the system. Is he not liking the system? Well, sir, you sought them out.
Yeah.
That's my knock on DeMarco Murray is you opted not to take the money from Dallas due to the fact that, hey, you feel like you was worth more. And everybody has the right to know their own worth. State their own worth. You get what I'm saying? So when you sought out not just another team, but a division rival, went there, got the money you wanted, now all of a sudden, you have Darren Sproles and Ryan Matthews and even another running back that was getting carries during key parts of the game against the Patriots. And you sit back and look at DeMarco Murray, they're looking like, Didn't they just sign this guy to a fat contract? And how many carries does he have right now?
If I'm DeMarco
3,
Murray, though,
4 carries.
I'm chilling.
Exactly. Like, you still, like, hey.
I'm winning right now.
Exactly.
Even though I will say this, kind of surprising to me, is Darren Sproles has ran the ball the best out of every Ryan Matthews, DeMarco Murray. Darren Sproles has actually ran the ball the best.
Right. He actually fits that system much better.
The fact that he doesn't get more carries to me is kind of dumbfounding.
Right. And you already know the deal with Ryan Matthews. This problem no different what it was when he was to San Diego. Health. How healthy are you going to stay? How healthy? How can we rely on you for a full season? How many games are we going to have you?
To me, Ryan Matthews is one of those players that's always supposed to be good, but it's never proven to be that good nor healthy enough to be that good.
Right.
A.K.A. Tavon Austin, A.K.A. Sam Bradford.
There's
a lot of rumors that you're really, really good.
Right.
But you never put up numbers to associate yourself with being that good.
Right.
And you can say it was on injuries, but at the end of the day, you get what you're getting.
Another player who I think fits in that category kind of sucks because I was a big fan of, even though he was playing with the Raiders, Darren McFadden.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue and say, well, he didn't have any other weapons around and everybody just put 8 in the box and he was just taking a beating. But I said before, hey, you was drafted high in the draft for a reason,
So we had expectations.
Right.
You did not meet those. Coming up, staying in the NFL, getting into the playoff race, the division winners, some obvious, some not, right after this on the Sports Machine.
Hi, I'm Dwaylen Dean, and this is your Sports Machine News Update. It's official now. Johnny Manziel is no longer stuck in detention. The Browns are turning to Manziel as their starting quarterback. Manziel has a chance to prove himself as the Browns quarterback of the future. But if he falters, the Browns could move on from their former first-round pick. The Philadelphia 76ers made a shift in their rebuilding plan by hiring Jerry Colangelo as their special advisor to front office. Colangelo immediately gives the Sixers some respect around the league as he has been working in high-level capacity with the NBA and USA basketball for well over 40 years. A veteran caddy who was working the final round of the Champions Tour qualifying tournament died from an apparent heart attack. 64-year-old Gary Hacharea, who was caddying for Gene Jones, collapsed in a fairway of the 15th hole at the TPC Scottsdale in Arizona. The wait for whom Manny Pacquiao would fight and what is supposed to be his final career fight on April 9th in Las Vegas is almost over. Top-ranked promoter Bob Arum, who was celebrating his 84th birthday Tuesday, initially said he would have an answer last Friday, but the time frame came and went with no answer. Pacquiao's opponent will be revealed Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on True TV. That was your news update. I am Dwaylen Dean, Sports Machine.
Sports Machine with Brian and Dean went over the Philadelphia Tank situation. That is the basketball team. It's not the Eagles. It's not the Flyers. Ron Rivera.
Tank City.
DeMarco Murray. Later on, we're going to get into the NFL power rankings as well as are really those 7. But right now, let's get into the playoff race in the NFL. Some obvious. Just to list off some of the obvious. Let's start in the AFC. Cincinnati Bengals, Denver Broncos, and the New England Patriots are winning their divisions.
Right.
So those are going to be the top 3 seeds. Now, we can sit here and argue about which one's not going to get the bye.
Right.
They're all 10-2. The Patriots are now struggling. I don't know if that would be the word I would use, but some people think they're struggling. Do you think the Patriots are the team that doesn't get the bye out of those 3?
No, I think the Patriots will wind up getting the bye.
All right. So Cincinnati or Denver will lose again.
Right.
Probably Denver. I like Cincinnati's team. I really like the Bengals.
Right. I think they just had like a 2-week slump where they just got figured out for a moment. Houston came in. I think that first loss kind of devastated them a bit because of the fact that they went in with the mind frame of what Houston was.
Yeah.
And Houston came back after the bye week and they've actually kind of turned it like when they realized that, hey, we're still in this, they actually helped them out from a standpoint of how their gameplay, how they gonna play. If we're still in the mix, then hey, let's keep it going. We got a chance to win this division right now.
I agree. You just mentioned the Texans. Let's go ahead and switch to AFC South. The Indianapolis Colts and the Texans seem to be in a
Dogfight.
2-team race
Right.
for that division. They're both 6-6. Indianapolis currently holds the tiebreaker, but they still have a game to play against each other, I believe.
Right.
Indianapolis or the Texans? It's in 2 weeks. They play the Texans, and it's in Indianapolis.
I'm gonna have to go with the Colts. It's in Indianapolis, right?
Just the Colts' remaining schedule is at Jacksonville. Then they in Indianapolis to play the Texans, at Miami, and then they play Tennessee. So it's a pretty
Wow, so all the
favorable.
rest of their games is kind of like division games. So it's like it's really a toss up because we saw that
I
this
think
past.
I think they're favorable games. Jacksonville at Jacksonville, you think?
Yeah, but sometimes if you
I
don't
mean, they
have,
did just get blown out by the Steelers.
they did get blowed out, and then you got to think about it too. It's like some teams like to play spoiler. It's like, oh, guess what? We're not gonna make it to the playoffs. Misery loves company. How about we ruin your chances to make the playoffs as well?
I will say this: the Texans have a very similar schedule. The only difference is instead of playing the Dolphins, they play the Patriots next week.
Oh man. Ooh. Yeah, I think Indianapolis may come out only because of like the difference between who they're playing.
It'll
Like,
probably come down to that game.
because I made the mistake in picking a lot of Miami players on my fantasy draft team, and that didn't help me out because for whatever reason, I failed to realize that they got rid of their offensive coordinator. So that's not the same offensive type of team that's going to be putting up any type of, numbers. And I had a couple of players with no numbers.
I think Houston has a chance, but they have to beat Indianapolis and Indianapolis.
Right,
They have no choice but to.
right,
Now, whether Andrew Luck is behind the center is another story.
right.
Moving on to the AFC wild card. Right now, it's held by the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Jets. 7-5 for both. Pittsburgh's also sitting 7-5, but due to conference record at this point, they're sitting just outside.
Right.
Then you have the Buffalo Bills at 6-6. To me, it's a 3-team race between the Chiefs, Jets, and Steelers.
Yeah.
And I'd probably take the Chiefs and the Steelers, but I haven't just looked at the schedules.
Right. I think Kansas City has turned it on as of late with their 2 running back system. They kind of got like a Hydra head running back going on back there right now. But I could see the Chiefs taking up one of those wild card spots, and once again, talking about Pittsburgh Steelers. As long as Ben Roethlisberger is healthy,
Just gonna give you a warning. I just looked at the Steelers schedule. They play the Bengals next in Cincinnati, and then they play the Broncos.
they'll lose to Cincinnati, but they'll beat the
I think
Broncos.
they'll get the Broncos.
Right.
That's possible. Especially if Peyton Manning comes back.
Exactly. Not. Ha! Thought you had me, slick son of a gun.
I thought I might have snuck one in there, maybe. Who knows?
Only reason because once again,
That game is in Pittsburgh, so
I know that the Steelers secondary has been suspect this season, but we're still talking about a young quarterback who still hasn't put up a lot of numbers.
if the Steelers beat the Broncos, to me, the Steelers are in because they play the Ravens and Browns after that.
Right.
They're on the road, but it's still
Right.
the Ravens and the Browns.
Right.
The current Ravens and the Browns.
Only problem with that is, and one thing I do like about with the way the NFL has been doing the schedule that as of the past couple of years is making those late division matchups. Like I ain't gonna lie, I like that a lot because now you don't have some teams that's, I guess you say, just kind of just coasting their way in. It's like, yo, you playing a division opponent, you still need to win some of these games. It's actually making December more important.
I'm actually looking at the Buffalo Bills that are 6-6. I kind of didn't think they had a chance to get in. They're only a game behind. But they play 3 NFC East teams.
They play who? Dallas?
They play the Eagles next week in Philadelphia, then at Washington. Then they play at home against Dallas. And then they play at home against the Jets, which might be the deciding factor. on who
Ooh.
gets in.
Wow. So it just that quick, it actually went into like a 4-game. I mean, a 4-team race. You said it was 3-team race at first, but
Yeah, then-
it actually. Who does the Jets still have to go?
The Jets. They have the Titans
Uh-huh.
at home.
Right.
Then they go into Dallas. Then they play New England in New York. And then they play at Buffalo. That's the last game.
Wow. These teams got some pretty. Once again, shout out to the league, man, for putting together some compelling schedules late in the season. But I still think I'm gonna go ahead and stick with the Chiefs, and I'm gonna still stick with Pittsburgh winning out.
I do too. I think the Chiefs and Steelers will make it, even though I think the Bills will make a real run.
Right. I mean, both of them, the Bills and the Jets, is going to make. They're going to make it difficult. They're going to make both of those teams make sure that they win out. Like, they can't just think they have it in the bag. They have to play each week like, yo, we're on the bubble. Like, our playoffs have started right now at the beginning of December.
Moving to the NFC, the obvious Carolina Panthers.
Right, number one. I'll take them.
Yeah. Then the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
10-2 is no one. It's not close.
Right.
They're number 2. Then you have the Packers and the Vikings fighting for the NFC North, both 8-4. But the Packers right now hold the tiebreaker because they beat the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Then
You know what?
and the loser of that to me is that
gonna
pretty
be
much
the
a shooting wild card.
Right. That's a for sure wild card spot. And I'm going to say the Packers wind up being a wild card team. Mainly because of the fact
Even
that.
after the Vikings just got dominated and Peterson's over there talking about they got outcoached.
Right. It's not their fault that they played a Seattle Seahawks team that's starting to get its traction at the right time.
You think Seahawks are the other wild card team?
Right.
Even with Tampa Bay kind of improving as they come up, they're a game behind Seattle.
Right. Right now, I think they're becoming a little bit more offensive minded. They don't have the Marshawn Lynch, so it's like actually, yeah, they're relying on Rawls to be the running back guy, but at the same time, it's like Russell Wilson is the guy on offense. He's not having to force the ball to one player anymore because, well, we sent a lot of draft picks or we traded some key guys to this team to get this one guy who's supposed to help make our offense more dynamic. And this defense has regained its confidence, in my opinion. And they're starting to look like the team that we expected. A team that went to 2 straight Super Bowls and could arguably say they won one minus a screwed up play call.
That leaves one spot open in the NFC playoffs. They're the winner of the 4th division of the NFC East.
Or the least is what everybody else has called it.
Probably what they should call it. Washington Redskins 5-7. The Eagles and Giants are also 5-7. Then you have the Cowboys holding on hope, and they're 4-8.
Cowboys Nation, let's stop this, please. Please. Let's get a top pick. Right now, I think we fell out of the top 5 pick.
You lost a lot of games.
That one win
That
has
one game
just like...
I mean, you got the Browns ahead or behind in this situation. They're ahead for the number 1 pick.
Right.
The Browns, the Titans, and the Chargers ahead of you, plus all the other teams that are tied 4-8.
So right now, we're hanging on to a top 10. Right now, we're holding on. We're struggling. If the game was over right now, we'd have a top 10, but it's like the closer you are to the front, the more you can actually make some things happen with that one pick. So I'm no on the Cowboys. I'm no on the Giants. I'm actually going to say yes on the Redskins.
You like that?
Yeah, seriously, like that's the team right now. Like they're not the best road team, and prior to this last game, they were 5-0 at home. Now, once again, that's the division team that they played, where you can throw out all the home records and all that type of stuff when you're playing a division opponent. But I think if this team makes it to the playoffs and gets to host a home playoff game, I think they'll advance to the divisional round, which means that they will probably wind up facing. If they face Seattle, they're done.
I agree that the Redskins will make the playoffs. I think they're going to win the NFC East, but I will not agree that they're going to win a game.
I think they will. Once again, they can play well at home. It's just when they get out on the road,
You
they
just
suck.
predicted that the Packers were going to be the wild card team, so it's either going to be the Packers or the Seahawks who they play.
If they play Seattle, they're done.
You think they beat the Packers?
Yes. I do. Because they can run the football. And the Packers can be ran on. I'm just saying, like, I'm just putting it out there.
I can't say nothing. You picked Texas over Baylor, so I'm just going to let this one ride. I'm just going to let this one ride.
Texas actually got this dude thinking about it sometimes. He got him thinking about it sometimes. He's like, wait a minute.
I don't see the Redskins winning the game in the playoffs. They're not the Seattle team to me. I don't think they have that home field advantage like that. Moving on. Moving to the NFL Power Rankings. I'm kind of mad because I've been playing this bite with a certain team,
Right.
and now I have to play this bite with a different team.
Is it possible? Is it possible to improve on perfection?
Number one in the Power Rankings got to be Carolina now.
Most definitely.
I was
Without question.
I was fooling around last week. I had the Patriots number one still. They let me down.
Yeah.
That's all I could say. They let me down.
But you can't, but like, honestly, I don't blame them because of the fact
They
that
lost.
they
The
lost,
Eagles.
but it's like they lost due to the fact that, man, that's not even the same offense. No Edelman. They barely got Amendola back, who's no telling how healthy he really is. Everybody else was just pedestrian. Like, Tom Brady can only make certain guys he can only make them so great. Like, he can only do so much. Brandon LaFell, his career problem has been drops. The one guy he thinks he can rely on, bloop, drop.
Of course, unlike Mr. Ace Hanlon, I really can fight with both hands.
True story. He can't catch. He can't use his hands, man. He ain't got no thumbs. No, that's JPP. Oops, I'm sorry.
That was a good one.
Oh, man.
You get a thumbs up for that one. Good thing JPP ain't here.
At number 2 for me, I got the Cincinnati Bengals.
At number 2, I have the New England Patriots.
Can't be mad at that.
Number
Number 2.
2, but I still
Right.
believe far more in the Patriots than I believe in any other AFC team. I'm not going to overreact to the last 2 games. I think the defense will get it back together.
It's funny because I actually have them above the Broncos.
I have them as Broncos too.
Right. So it's like, for me, 1 is, of course, Carolina. 2 is Cincinnati. 3 is Arizona.
I have Arizona 3.
Then 4, New England. Then 5, Denver.
I have Arizona ahead of the Bengals.
You do?
Really, both teams are actually about the same, wouldn't you say?
Right.
Both teams are really close.
Right.
They're almost mirror matches of each other. Defenses are good. Both have decent running games.
Right. And see, I wonder about Arizona's running game right now. My bad, I didn't mean to cut you off. That's what I worry about with their running game is because they just lost CJ2K. The running back formerly known as CJ2K, Chris Johnson, with a fractured, what they call it, fibula, shin bone.
I don't mind their backup, though.
I mean, Ellington is nice, but he's also had some injury problems too. Like this week, they went with the rookie running back.
The other Johnson.
Yeah, the other Johnson.
I like him.
Right. I mean, he was pretty solid for
I would
us.
say you don't have to carry the team of the Cardinals. You have Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald, Floyd. Brown.
Yeah,
I mean, Floyd's in there, but Brown's the main other dude.
right. And the only deal with that is you need some type of run game going into the playoffs. You need it.
I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate. New England won last year.
With a proven winner
With
at
Tom
the quarterback
Tom
position.
Brady. He didn't need a running game.
Yeah, with a proven winner who says, you know what? Okay, screw it.
Their screens are the run game.
He said, screw it. Screw it. I'll use it all. I'll pass.
I don't care what happens next.
And next me, you know, Super Bowl champion.
I also have the Broncos 5.
All right. Jumping up is the Packers.
I have the Packers at 6.
And jumping up a major spot from the Packers, I actually have Seattle.
I also have Seattle.
And from there,
I didn't want to do that, by the way, because I've been talking trash about the Legion of Boom for a while. Mm-hmm. They did look good against the Vikings, even though I will say the Vikings don't necessarily just have the greatest passing threats
right,
to challenge the secondary.
they have a strong run game, which is something you need going late into the season.
Apparently, they were outcoached. I'm not going to get off that. Adrian Peterson said they were outcoached and then stuck by it. I'm not sure how I would feel about that if I was the coach for the Vikings. I know it's Adrian Peterson, but at the same time, I'm going to sit there and have a stern talking to him. Like
You
he's
know
my
what?
son or something.
I kind of agree with it, though. When you look at the way they got demolished, like, it wasn't close. It wasn't close. It wasn't their fault that they ran into the buzzsaw that they ran into right now. But at the same time, it looked like they shouldn't have been on the same field together.
I just really...
It was like a Division I college team versus a Division III.
I don't think I could hear that from a dude that rushed for 18 yards.
Mainly because he got stuffed.
I mean, he got stuffed.
Like,
I don't know. That's not what I'm trying to hear from him, though.
Like,
we got outcoached. Well, maybe if he would have ran better.
the fact that Teddy Bridgewater had been having a pretty good season up until you got your best receiver in Diggs ain't gonna beat Richard Sherman.
How's that the coach's fault?
Because they should have created better. They should have put Cardell out. Like, they should have done a lot of different things. I guess everybody's a genius after the fact.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's like, who knew that they was gonna come up with their game plan? But speaking of the Vikings, I have them coming. I have them
at 8. I didn't drop
Right.
them too far. ESPN dropped them a lot.
Yeah, ESPN dropped them to what?
Out of the top
11.
10.
Like, jeez.
Like, they're not even in the race anymore. Like, they're not 8-4.
Like, they just completely discredited everything that they've done.
I guess when you only rush for 18 yards, that's what happens.
Next, I do have the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I also have the Pittsburgh Steelers just ahead of the Chiefs, though. To me, the Chiefs,
Right.
That's 9-10. I feel like the Chiefs are right there, maybe even better than Pittsburgh.
Right. And so that's the same thing with me. It's like the Chiefs didn't. It's like the Steelers didn't the Chiefs. And coming in at 10, I'm actually going to surprise you, but I'm actually bringing in the Buffalo Bills instead of the New York Jets.
I can accept it, but I still feel like the Jets are better.
And honestly, I actually just switched that up. Mainly because when you actually brought up who they're playing
It doesn't matter. It's
in the
power
season.
rankings.
Yeah, but I'm saying like that because if they're in a playoff race, it's like, yo, I gotta shift them because these guys actually can make a better run than the Jets will.
It's about which team is better, not who they play. This is not the college football playoff committee.
Hey, it's my ranking.
Going off an eye test, or we going off a strength of schedule over here?
I think this week is strength of schedule. Yo, I found out where they was meeting at. I found out where they.
You said it yesterday.
I did. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
they're saying the Gaylord.
Okay. My bad. Okay then. I just had to let that know. Yeah. You're right. At the Gaylord, like I just had to.
Just put them on blast.
Right.
Just so everybody knows where they be at.
Right.
That's what's
So
up.
when you have a
You're
problem,
like the NFL. Snitching.
hey, I gotta let the world know. Hey, everybody who felt like, y'all feel like y'all still should have got in with y'all one loss. Y'all should have been meeting them at the Gaylord, and
Down the
y'all black
street.
and gold.
Down the street.
And y'all black and gold, letting them know, hey, I don't like your decision, man. I don't like your
Not sure
decision.
what you're-
I don't like your selection,
I
man.
don't know what you're influencing over there.
I'm just saying, hey, just let them know. Hey, own it.
I don't understand.
Yeah, that's for people who usually don't know how to tell people how they feel to their face. Neither one of us are like that.
Neither one. It's obvious, blatantly obvious. Probably a problem that we need to fix.
Shoot it from the hip.
Straight from the hip.
Of course, unlike Mr. Ace Hamlin, I really can fight with both hands.
Straight from the holster. Just to let you know I'm colder. No
Yeah,
freestyle.
For those of you who don't know, that bite is from The Quick and the Dead. Encourage you to watch it.
Please. Hair. Like he said, he can shoot with both hands. Shot dude thumbs off.
Great Western.
Man, never go wrong with a good Western movie, man. Man, they don't know what they missing.
It's time.
Really though.
things in sports to make you say. Who would you like to go first today?
I'll knock it out first, and I'll make this real quick. My really though goes out to USC. Not Steve Sarkisian, but to UFC, who says that Steve Sarkisian is lying. USC, you guys are a top 5 program in all of college football. Top 5 program when, far as a good spot to land, because you guys land top athletes
That's
there.
questionable.
But
They probably top 10.
okay,
If we'll get into that.
okay.
It's not the top for that.
So when you sit back and tell me that you guys didn't know this guy was drunk, that was an alcoholic. I'm sorry, I don't mean to call him a drunk. But you have, where there's smoke, there's fire, and I take that quote from Smokey the Bear. He said there was reports that USC knew about him having some issues back at the previous college. I think that was Washington, where he was coaching at, where they heard stories and rumblings of this guy likes to drink. Okay, that was one. Number 2 was at your Troy, your little party that they had earlier this year before the season started, where he's just full-blown grade A drunk. Out of there. That's number 2 for me. And when you get that, when you get that out of hand at what I think is a business party, I think he should have been put in then. It's like, hey, look, this is just a precaution for you. You have a month to get yourself ready for a very important season for our football team. I think had they knocked it out then, probably would still be coaching right now. So to sit back and say this guy's lying and we didn't know that he was an alcoholic, you sat there and watched him make a complete fool out of himself at your tournament, at your event. You also heard stories about it, so you knew. You just tried to sweep it underneath the rug. So yes, you get the really though.
I think Sarkisian also deserves one just for saying it's a disability.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a disability. I mean, you got a problem, but it's not a disability.
It was 1 A and 1 B for me. And
The whole
I went with
USC situation gets really though.
Yeah.
Just the whole anybody from USC today,
Just really though.
just really though. Like you, sir, from Southern California, really though.
That's right. We don't call them USC no more. They gotta earn that right. We call them Southern California.
My really though goes to LaShawn McCoy.
Shady.
Had words about Chip Kelly. For those of you who don't know, he pretty much called Chip Kelly a racist earlier in the season. He didn't say it like that, but that's what we got out of it. When he was asked about him, he says, "I don't have no issue with him. That's not my grammar. That's his grammar. Don't come at me with that. There's no problem. I don't hate him. It's nothing like that. We ain't like best friends of that, but we're no enemies."
That's kind of shady of you, McCoy.
You're not enemies? You can't call somebody a racist and say you're not enemies with that person. You call me a racist, it's not like, oh, we're not friends. We're not friends anymore, but we'll still be casual. No. Like, me and you got problems.
Exactly.
Like, you just called me racist. That's not cool.
It's not only is it not cool, but that's downright disrespectful.
It's just
Especially
implied.
especially if you don't have proof. If you don't have any proof of it.
We're not enemies. You are my enemy. You call me a racist. And if I have to come out and call you a racist, if I call you a racist, then I'm not, that you my enemy too.
Right.
Like, neither one of you should like each other. If you really think he's racist, I don't know if you were just saying that because you was mad because you went.
Got traded the whole nine.
I don't know if you were saying that because you was mad, but if you really feel he's racist, then you shouldn't be saying he's not an enemy.
Right.
Nah, he is an enemy.
Right.
And he's on another team.
Right.
That almost makes him an enemy in front of himself.
Exactly. And would nobody he wouldn't even be getting hit right now.
So LaShawn McCoy, really though, he's not your enemy. He's not your friend, but he's not your enemy either. It's called what it is. Got rid of all the black players.
Traded me for Kiko Alonso. I ain't like that very much.
I don't think I'd like that either, though. That's nothing to do with color.
Nobody in Philly liked the moves that he's made. It's funny because when you think about this, think about quarterback down there in Nick Foles. It's 14-2 in his offense. 14-2. Now he's on the bench in St. Louis. You had a guy who was 14-2 in your system, and a quarterback may not have been what you like, but actually ran your offense better than what you do have, and you just
Hey,
holler at you.
Chip Kelly was on that.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
I'm the captain.
Hey, that's how it started.
Great show today.
I don't think it ended well for that guy.
Did not. Did not.
Exactly.
I don't care. That dude is still one of my favorite movie characters of all time. I don't, like, the movie wasn't that good, but that dude was one of my favorite movie characters. He was gangster. I like that guy.
And it was a true story.
Exactly. Coming up later in the week, Friday, we got pick sixes. Who knows? Thursday night football. I'll probably get the recap of that tomorrow.
Most definitely.
A whole bunch more right here on the Sports Machine.
Peace out.